Hey guys, it's Matt. This video presents a list of key terms in hobo code that are not only needed to understand what we're talking about here at this channel, but will be very necessary in the near future as reality breaks down to navigate reality itself into the 2020s. You may like some of these terms and decide to incorporate them into your daily conversation and vernacular, whatever that means. Use these key terms and hobo codes as you're, say, talking to office mates around the water cooler or walking through your local town and community. But one key proviso: never use any of these terms on a first or second date. Best case scenario, your date will say, "I have to use the restroom." They'll get up to supposedly use it, but they will never come back, ever. Worst case scenario, they'll start making phone calls to your family to try to have you committed and institutionalized. So without further ado, let's jump right into the list so you can start using them today. First up, Gust Denialist. Gust Denialist comes from Finland as a literal translation of a term that appeared in an article right about July 4th when all the concerts were being canceled around the United States and baseball games were being canceled, but the thunderstorm hadn't even taken place yet. Like in the Philadelphia area here where I live, the key concert that was to kick off the July 4th festivities was Vanessa Williams. Everybody had already taken their seats. Many people were on blankets because it was a park-like setting. And some little Weasley man came out and said, "I'd like to have your attention, please. There's dangerous situation. There's thunderstorms in the area." And the people looked up and the skies were blue. And they said, "The skies are completely blue. What are you talking about, good sir?" "We need to stay safe. Everybody must go home. Vanessa Williams cannot perform her, what is she, I'll Be Dreaming, or Save the Best for Last, all that shit. You must go home. Stay safe is number one." And Vanessa Williams then came out and said, "I do apologize. We can't do this concert. I know it doesn't look like storms now, but it could be very dangerous," they say later. And they're asking me to get off the stage. She says, "They're giving me the stink eye." Matt, they had to impose one-eye symbolism in a 30-second Vanessa Williams apology. They had to impose their one-eye symbolism. Now, if you are sitting back and you're saying to yourself, "This is something fishy is going on here. The skies are blue. They're canceling concerts. They're canceling baseball games. Is this maybe some sort of a subliminal push towards another hobo code coming up, and a term we'll cover a little bit later? Primate, monkeys, primate change, and global charming. Now, if this is related and you think there could be a connection and there's something maybe sinister going on, then you're a Gust Denialist, you son of a bitch. Now, the person from Finland that brought us the term Gust Denialist, which is a literal translation of what was in the Finnish newspaper, had one of the all-time great comments, at least from this year, saying, "Matt, the same thing. You talked about Vanessa Williams. Depeche Mode, I think she said, was supposed to perform here. Same thing happened. Canceled outdoor concert because of possible really severe and nasty thunderstorms," which they always remind you is because of primate change. She said, "Matt, I have a theory that they don't even expect to perform. They're not even ready to perform. They recycle these old acts saying they're going to perform just so they can cancel it under the name of global charming." I was like, are they capable of that? You better believe they're capable of that. If anybody's new listening to me, no, we haven't been committed. We're not broadcasting from a little ham radio at the bottom of an asylum. This is how the world works, sir. Next up is a term that you'll be excited to use with your boss at work: Transpocalypse Army. Well, it's not a real army. It's a subgroup inside our own truth research community that is so fixated on one thing that you would say they're in the weeds. They kind of ignore the big picture of what's going on in reality itself. There's actually a group of people that are fixated on spreading the word, and they're 100% convinced of this, and they've been trying to convince me of this for years, that every single Hollywood, say, actress or female actor, or even the wife of a male actor, almost anybody associated with Hollywood that has ever appeared on Entertainment Tonight, ever, is actually not a female, but is packing. In all due respect to the Transpocalypse Army, I hear you on some of them. I'm with you, my brothers, on some of them. I mean, you want to talk about, well, let's see, some of your favorites. George Clooney's wife is one of your favorites. Amal Clooney, a male Clooney. They tell you right there, Cher, Sonny and Cher, see her. It's a mockery, right? Meryl Streep. How many women do you know named Merle? Glenn Close. How many women do you know named Glenn? Oh, we have a beautiful little daughter here. What should we name her? Susan or Glenn? Glenn. I mean, okay, on some of them, I'm with you. I hear you. But you guys think everyone, for the most part, is. Some of them go that far. I know it's Gal Gadot. I'm going to take, I know you would say that's a mockery. I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances with Gal Gadot. If I got to move something out of the way down there, I'll move something out of the way down there. I'll take my chances. We don't believe that everyone. We think you're going a little bit too far. You're missing the big picture on reality. All right, let's do a quick one. Pootie Tang Award. The Pootie Tang Award is given out on this channel to anybody that states the obvious. Taken from the Chris Rock movie of relatively 15 years ago, Pootie Tang, there was scenes with Pootie had 3 friends, and they would talk about Pootie. Pootie could do no wrong. By the way, the first 20 minutes of Pootie Tang is about the funniest thing I've ever seen. Then it gets kind of bad and old. But Chris Rock was one of the 3 friends of Pootie Tang, and they would talk about him, and they would give compliments. Like, Pootie is so fly with the ladies. He once walked into a sorority house, and it became a fraternity. Oh, and then the next one will say something about Pootie's so fly with the ladies that I saw this happen. And then the last guy says, and guess what? Pootie's pretty good with girls too. He states the obvious at the end. If you state the obvious at this channel, you're going to get a Pootie Tang Award. Some people try to get them. Somebody will comment at this channel and say, Matt, I don't believe there were any airplanes. And we go, we've been at this for over 14 years. If you try to tell me there ain't no mountain high and ain't no airplanes, that's going to get a Pootie Tang Award. All right, let's do another one quickly. This is a term I guarantee you will want to adopt into your vernacular as soon as possible to use at work or like on the bus, for example. And this isn't my creation. Several of these here are not my creation. They're brought to my attention. Too good to ever forget about. When you describe reality itself as it's broken down into a complete and utter bozo show, you refer to it, say, talking to someone on a park bench as, yeah, the world's become a tragic comedy. A what? What did you just say back up there? Oh, you combine the word tragic with comedy, but they share the C. But you don't pronounce the C, you put an AH in to make it like one word, one theme. It's a tragic comedy. A tragic comedy? No, a comedy. You know, like ancient Greece had the Greek tragedy. That's part of what our reality has become. What's that damn Greek play tragedy we talked about? Iphigenia at Aulis. Where the hell is Aulis? And who the heck is Iphigenia? What's she doing in Aulis? Walking the streets? So they had Greek tragedy. This is, I can't even say it because I want to be able to load my video. This is a blank tragedy, but it's a tragic, you have to laugh at it. It's a tragic comedy. This is one of the greatest terms ever devised. Next up is the term righteous truther, of which there's also a very prestigious award here, like the Pootie Tang, called the Righteous Truther Award. Now, a righteous truther loves the comment section because they're just waiting to tell the world how perfect they are in the area that's being discussed. For example, I once mentioned, I was just watching the Daytona 500, and then they said, you lost me at the Daytona 500, meaning it's very clear, read between the lines. I'm a righteous truther. I wouldn't watch sports. Matt, you present a channel like this and you watch sports? When you fart, Matt, does it smell like roses like me? Your fart still... Matt, you have human vices? You actually watch movies? A righteous truther is very, very insistent upon telling you that they haven't watched a movie since 1976 and they threw out their television. And you know what? That's wonderful for you. And we consider these people to be our brothers and brethren. But you know what? If you feel the need, you got to tell people about it to show the world that you're perfect in your anti-not-milk pursuits. That we're gonna talk about part 2 in the book. You got a little work to do. Here's one that I don't think I've ever used. I had written it down, I think, a few weeks ago. I forget where it came from, but it's just too good not to start working this in as much as we all can. Flash polarize. So how many things do they put in the news, most of which these stories are absolute cake and a lake bullcrap, where it flash polarizes the country to form camps, to form opposite sides, to fight against each other, to create loosh energy, something that it can slither out from behind a rock and feed upon like an energy vampire. It puts all of these stories out, even who took the side of Johnny Depp or who took the side of Amber Heard, or everything is designed in this reality to immediately flash polarize the country. And there's only one reason the Not Milk needs to do that: to create camps that ultimately will fight, argue, create negative emotion, and it in some way feeds from that as energetic loosh. Next up, we'll discuss the difference between a simulation and simulacra. In the Matrix 4, it was simulate. Now, I started recording this, I'm re-recording, and I've done this many times where I say, let's do one that's more serious, less fun, a little more serious. And I think, every time I think that, of course, I think, what kind of troll-like creature in the comments is going to be like, look, Matt's dropping a serious. I told you he was one of them. I looked up, I've done this before, I've looked at the synonyms, because, every time now I say it, I think, it's almost like I think they created the word to somehow tie into SIRIUS, their star that they bow down to. But it's strange. I mean, there are no other good synonyms for serious. Like, let's do something important. And it is listed there: significant, consequential, monumentous. So I'm going to say, let's do a term here that's monumentous. It just doesn't sound right. Let's do a consequential term now, not a fun one like Pootie Tang. So it's almost like they didn't give us, it's almost like they didn't give us any alternative for serious. You know how I don't know, whatever, two words sound exactly the same, come off the tongue exactly the same, but the spelling's different. Is that a homophone or whatever? But they do business like this, where, trying to extract, we just talked about loosh energy, trying to extract a little something every time somebody says the word serious. Well, Matt, just proclaim it null and void. I will. They haven't given me any alternatives. I'll continue to use the word SERIUS to denote something important, but in no way is this word related to the star SIRIUS. Well, why is that? Because I said so. That's why. All right, a simulation is an environment created that tries to mimic another environment as closely as possible. I mean, to get every little detail, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a computer simulation. That's the big thing now. Or that NASCAR will race on a simulation and do car setup for the Daytona 500 a few days before the Daytona 500. Try to get as many details exactly right, where one reality potentially might be no different in some day if the simulation's good enough than the other reality. Somebody's saying, Matt, that's what they did to us. Maybe we'll talk about that some other time. I think what's happening now is more of a simulacra. Simulacra is a copy of a copy of a copy. It's hard to talk about it. It's a strange term. So it's kind of like you would say, what's happening today as they try to do something to reality or move the human into a certain place or into the digital world. They've created, via stalled century, another term I hope we get to, like a simulacra of the old reality, like a copy of it, but it's not legitimate, like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. It's like, that's just what comes out as a simulacra. It's going to be a little different. There's going to be a few smudges. It's not quite the same. It's degrading to a degree. So this is also the principle you can tie in simulacra to stalled century. Matt, this is the same reality. Look, Vanna White's still turning letters, and this is still the same, and all that's the elements of stalled century to remind you that the old reality is still here, while the important parts of metaphysical reality is being changed in front of all our noses. So as it evolves, a copy of a copy of a copy, it moves away from the original. It's more of a simulacra. They're not trying to simulate anything. It's a copy of a copy, but also changing over time. There's a little bit different interpretation of simulacra as well. Whoever wrote that book, Simulation, Simulacra, that's referenced in the Matrix, it's far too complicated. It's just complicated horse shit, like Nietzsche and everything else, and the people that can read it understand it. They feel superior. They can pat themselves in the back. But it's an interesting term, and I only use it because it does relate to how they're trying to use stalled century. Let's do a quick channel-specific term, bathroom boy. A bathroom boy can be a girl, it's just a way of putting something, where you want to get to, Matt, tell me the information I need because I've got other things to get to. I've got 10 BitChute videos to watch about the Action Jacksonation. We didn't even get to those terms. I've got to go do this. I've got to just come on, right out with it, Matt. Out with it. See, we've gotten rid of a lot of bathroom boys. They just want to move through the information and collect. They don't ever want to ever get into part 2, which is the only important reason for being alive in this existence. Most people that are here do like to put their feet up, to think as we discuss the big topics, the midnight reality, things like that, thinking outside the toy box, outside the reality bookends, really contemplating their own place in how reality is moving forward. They're not bathroom boys. It's give me the information, Matt. I'm going to put you on 1.25. Now, where the term came from, people have reminded me I'm wrong about this. I don't think I am, but I don't care. The Yankee Rose, David Lee Roth. All you bathroom boys salute. When are flags unfurled? Well, Matt, here it says, all you backroom boys salute. I don't care what it says on some Lyrics Genius website or whatever. Maybe they got it wrong. What makes more sense? All you bathroom boys salute as our flags unfurled about girls in Yankee Rose. The flag unfurled is a centerfold. What the hell you think it is? Even the bathroom boys don't even get that right. Get lost, you bathroom boys. We're not here for 1.25 exercises. Now, this next term is not in any way associated or linked to this channel, but it's so important regarding what happened this summer in the Hawaiian Islands. We need to discuss it. When you talk to your family and friends and office mates about global charming and primate change, you need to know this word. Now, the Hawaiian Islands, and Maui in particular, suffering. And you know how they described what happened? No, not Sharknado. Very similar, and that's the link I'm going to make to Sharknado. Fire hurricane. It's when there's a hurricane that brings 75 to 80 to 85 mile an hour winds and fires spread, but there isn't a damn drop of rain. Not a drop of rain. It's called fire hurricane. Most hurricanes bring 10 to 15 inches of torrential rain. But this one that takes out expensive real estate is called fire hurricane. I only mention it because I'm linking it to Sharknado. Not that it's cake in a lake, that it's basically not milk created. We'll put it that way. The next term is a more important or serious discussion. It's yawn material for the old guard, but newer people struggle with this. Mandela-affected people struggle with this. I'll try to keep it 3 minutes or less on the term retro-causality. It's pretty clear at this point that time does not exist. It is simply a perception as designed by whoever created this reality system, so real spiritual beings could have an experience related to how a spirit in the body has that experience. If you move your arm in front of your face, there is no movement of the arm without time. But there's nothing there. It's simply perception. It does not exist. The reason I mention that is you have, scientists or physicist types that keep talking about time as the fourth dimension. I don't know what that means. To me, it's a bunch of horse shit. It's not the fourth dimension. It's nothing. It's simply the way this reality system was created and how the body perceives through its senses. It doesn't exist. Okay. So if time doesn't exist and it's all perception, the way time flows is also just perception because nothing is flowing. There ain't no river. Nothing is. It's just all perception. So it seems, because that's how this whole reality is designed and you're in the body, the future is out there, all right? And I don't want to get into fate or determinism or no free will. I believe we have free will. If you drop a big brick on your foot, you will affect the future. It doesn't mean you were forced by some sort of fates or gods to drop a brick on your foot. I don't think believing in free will precludes this conversation. So it's just the way it seems. There is no river flowing. It's a perception. If that's the case, then the past seems far away. Well, it's probably not far away and long gone. It's like everything's all stacked up on top of each other, where everything's on the vinyl record, an analogy I used in the fiction book I wrote called Quantum of Conscience. People are still buying that book, believing it's a conspiracy book or what I'm reading now. It's a fiction book about college kids and dream experiments. And at the end, there's some time travel, but the record, vinyl record represents all of time. All the music's laid down. Where the person experiences life is just where you drop the record needle. The record needle is consciousness. So it's all there, kind of stacked on top of each other. So if the future can be changed, ripples out into the future, well, why wouldn't there be ripples through the past as well? It's very common sense and simple if you can get your head around this. It just seems, because everything is perception to us, but what's really happening? So there's no doubt in my mind that large events like the 2001 submission of the job application, a term we're not even going to cover here, but you know what it is. The submission of the job application in 2001. 7-Eleven is where the submission took place. That was such a major event that had just monumental, enormous implications on the future, that it also in some way affected the past. One could argue that it could not affect the past because of the way time flows here as strongly, like trying to swim, can the fish swim against the current? But it still can affect the past because of how major the event is. Some people could actually argue it's equal. It could affect the past just as much as the future. But when the past is affected, we all reset to it. It's like a download. We talk about the frequency, the radio station, the download. I think there are a lot of changes in a fluid reality that we all just sync up to. If there are changes that ripple back through the past, we will believe it's always been like that, because actually, per the physics of it, it has always been that way. With a retrocausality, or a change that ripples back into the past, we have to say change. We have to talk about it in that sense, but there is no change. The past is different, but there is no date of change because the past has changed. Why the residuals pop up about the Mandela effect, we've talked about that recently. That is the most perplexing thing of all time. If it is a true retrocausality, the residuals, you would think, wouldn't exist, but I'm not sure we'll ever solve that piece of the puzzle. Just think of it, something major happens, the past can be affected, maybe not in the same way as the future, but it can ripple in a pond or a pebble in the middle of a pond. The ripple goes all directions. It doesn't just go in one direction. So, but whenever something changes, we sync up to the new reality. We don't notice a change, and we don't notice it because it has always been that way, if that makes any sense. One of the biggest misunderstandings in the Mandela-affected community, I know, that's a psyop. I know, just give me a minute. I know it's a psyop. Just give me a minute anyway. Even those who are affected will come forth. They still have no understanding. 90% of those affected don't understand this issue. They are Mandela affected in a certain way, but say, we all have differences. We don't see it the same way. They'll say, oh, no, you guys in the Mandela effect community are wrong about, pick one. You're going to need a bigger boat. We're going to need a bigger boat. And no, I remember clearly, I can assure you, it always was what it is today. There was no change. It always was, you're going to need a bigger boat. Those Mandela-affected people don't even understand the basic principle of retrocausality. And they don't understand that what may be your experience or your reality might not be mine. There is no one answer. And they'll even say, look, I have we actually did a Jaws, make something up. We did the Jaws play in high school. And look, I wrote it down right here. My line was, you're going to need a bigger boat. Well, that doesn't prove anything. Why wouldn't it? All of reality, most of it except for the residuals, the weird things that slipped through the barium sweep somehow, all of reality should reflect what exists today. You pull me out some handwritten notes about your script from your high school days that says you're going to need a bigger boat. Well, why would it say anything different? Shouldn't it reflect what actually exists and has always existed? So a Mandela-affected person saying, no, I assure you there has been no change there. They're affected. They have other little effects that affect them, like Interview with a Vampire or whatever, but they still don't understand the basics of how the damn thing works. Finally, we'll close with one of the key terms associated with this channel, the kingpin, the mother and father of all bosses, the not milk. Not got milk, the not milk. Not milk is Clinton backwards. You see, the first grade truther believes that the secret societies and everything that appears in the news and Bill Gates running around, the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, the first grade truther thinks that's the final bad guy. No, they're just elements or pawns of something that's in the background, something we'll never be able to see, something we'll never be able to touch, something that basically, the easiest way to understand it is a representation of pure evil. It is like Satan. It is the adversary. It blocks a spiritual being from doing what it's supposed to do in its incarnation or its life, figuring itself out, understanding certain things, constantly bringing forth distraction. All of the assholes we have to deal with that have crafted this sick society and all its little sticky fingers, and all of society and culture is just so adulterated and bastardized. It's not people in smoking rooms. There's a force behind it. We call it also the screen, the outer ring of reality, the asshole dark, the plumber's stinky ass crack that hangs over the natural world. There's something else here that can't be pointed at, in a police lineup. You could bring Bill Gates out, Melvin, of course, in a police lineup and say, he done it. You never can't point at it here. It's just something the way this reality is created. There's a game being played here. It's not hijacked. Even the Not Milk itself and its assholes and its minions and its role players and its systems, all part of what needs to happen here for us to have this experience. So using, say, a Star Wars reference, the Not Milk or the asshole Dark is not Darth Vader. It's not the Emperor Palpatine, Sith Lord. It would be the dark side of the Force itself. Okay, that's more of what it would represent. The Darth Vader would be like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or its cast of characters. And there are there are cast of characters here that are higher level, not the clowns that appear on television like Melvin, and Elon Musk is just basically some sort of low-life moron. There's people way above, like the old money still exists. There's many, old families that have trillions and trillions. I think this might be the middle ground between what we call Not Milk and the real low minions that run around on television that people think are so all-powerful and important. If some dumbass president or prime minister presents themselves as, people think that's the top, that's a joke. I mean, that's basically one step up from somebody that serves soft serve ice cream to these people. And then again, that final layer, that dark side of the Force. And it's put here because this reality system needs that side to play its game. Well, why Not Milk? That sounds stupid. It does sound stupid. That's the point. It's Clinton backwards. I don't want to give it a cool name, anything it would be proud to receive. Of course it's going to be a stupid name. What do you think? Should I have called it, Maurice Cavassier? Or what was the old term? Maybe some people thought I should have called it Nathaniel de la Violette or Keith Stone. I didn't deserve those types of names. It only deserves Asshole Dark or Not Milk. No, I don't want it to reach out to me to tell me what it wants to be called. No, I don't want that at all. I'm trying to avoid it, sir. I don't care to know what pronouns it requires of me to use. It has no pronoun. Is it going to try to bring New York State law against me? Not Milk. Is that what you're going to do? Matt, this is getting awfully stupid. It is. You talk about this stuff for close to 30 minutes. Your mind starts to go a little bit wacky, a little batty. It takes almost 24 hours for me to recover. Thanks for listening.